Okay, so Co-op and who Co-op are. There's 63,000 of us at Co-op, a really big organisation. We're a number of different businesses, as some of you may know. The bulk of us are retail, so we're a convenience retailer. 45,000 colleagues doing that in small stores located up and down the country, from the Shetland Islands to the Channel Islands, from the west of Northern Ireland to the east of East Anglia. We've got 2,600 stores and growing at about 100 a year. And we wholesale as well to a number of other stores, Nicer and Cost Cutter, and there's a lot of programs to bring more in, so we're growing all the time. We've got 7,000 logistics colleagues supporting them, 4,000 colleagues in funeral homes, over 1,000 funeral homes up and down the country, so we're the country's leading funeral provider. We've got a legal services business with 400 colleagues. We've got 1,500 colleagues in an insurance business. Support centre colleagues, probably about 3,500 of those, so we're really diverse. But the important thing is, with all those small locations, we've got a huge number of colleagues offline. So there's maybe 13,000 or 14,000 of those colleagues have an email address and a computer, and the rest of them don't, and there's no way to get hold of them electronically. So we have some challenges, and the retailers in the room will sympathise over those challenges, but it's a little bit difficult. Being a convenience retailer, and our retail population do really dominate the Co-op, what you can see here is who our people are. Convenience retail and small stores gives us a lot of part-time job roles. So the nature of running those small stores is it's easier to do that with a larger number of part-time colleagues than it is with a small number of full-time colleagues. It gives us better flexibility over who's working for us and running staff hours. But that attracts certain types of people to come and work for us. So we see a couple of really big pockets of people come and work for Co-op, a lot of young people. So they're looking for their first jobs. They're working around education and training. They probably don't consider us their career, or maybe they do over time, maybe not when they come through the door. You see that 20s are our most populous age, so we've got a lot of people in that bracket, sort of 18 to 20, 24, 25, 20% of our people come in there. And then we sort of slowly decline, and then from about 40 to about 55, we have an awful lot of women come to work for us. So that bulge there is women who, they've taken time out, they've had children, and they're looking for part-time work that fits around childcare commitments and fits around a lot of elderly care commitments as well. So they come into work for us. So that really defines who our people are. Because of those part-time hours, it means a lot of people earning lower wages, and it also means a lot of people being the second income in their families. So it means that we can't look at what we're paying to people and make assumptions about the type of home life they have and what they need. And it's really important because earnings often will dictate the kind of support that we need to put there. So that's kind of who our Co-op people are. The journey that we've been on as an organisation and the stuff that we've done to put wellbeing at the top of our agenda, you probably heard a lot about the Co-op 2014, 2015. We went through a huge rescue phase. You'll have heard about the Co-op Bank and the financial problems that had. We don't own it anymore. We had to sell our pharmacy business. We went through a huge period of change, but it was root and branch at the Co-op. There were difficulties throughout the organisation, things that we weren't doing right. That period of change really led to a massive reset of our purpose, and because we are member-owned and because our purpose is our communities, we really needed to change how we engage our communities. And you cannot engage in your communities if you do not have engaged colleagues, so it's really important. Engagement for us isn't just about productivity, but it's actually about how you relate to your customers and your members and your owners. So engagement really matters to us. And we can't use pay to do that because we're dominated by retail. The margins are low, so we can't just pay people more to engage them. We have to have other ways to do that. So we really have to show we care. So health and wellbeing and financial wellbeing are really key to that strategy and how we achieve it. We're concerned about the drivers of sickness and absence in the organisation as well. So we're doing a lot of work there. And in the background to all of it, we were closing our defined benefit pension schemes, and we had our trade unions knocking on the door saying to us, why, you're doing this, okay, we're unions, we're not keen on that. but you really have to do more to support colleagues. You've got to help them plan their retirement, plan their future. They don't know how to do that. So you need to look at financial wellbeing, and that was their calling card and what they really wanted to see us do. So we started out and we had a look and we thought, what are we doing? What are we getting right and what are we getting wrong? And we actually found that we did a lot of stuff right, which is great. You know, we had 2 credit unions in the organisation supporting colleagues. They've got sort of 50 years of experience of supporting colleagues with savings and borrowing, but they're reasonably small in what they do. We've got life cover for colleagues. We've got pension schemes, a really flexible DC pension scheme with some generous contribution rates. We've got cycle to work, season ticket loans, rent deposit. So there's some really good stuff there, but there's a lot of things missing. The knowledge and education, the tools, the budgeting, the stuff that pulls all of this together wasn't there. None of it had been presented to colleagues as financial wellbeing. Everything had been presented as bits of a benefit package or as something else. Cycle to work was this healthy thing or this environmentally friendly thing. None of it had been presented to colleagues as something that was good for your finances. We had some retirement planning tools, but obviously they were out of date and needed refreshing, so we needed to do more there. We also looked at our colleague needs, and I won't spend too much time on this slide. Thanks to Neighbour for a lot of the statistics that come through here from their DNA research, but a lot of the providers will talk to you about this stuff. There's a really solid evidence base out there, but essentially, 60 million people with only £100 of savings, a quarter of people are worried about missing their debt repayments every month, £7,000 per family in the UK on average of unsecured debt. So that's on top of your student loans, that's on top of your mortgages, that's credit cards and overdrafts, that's really bad stuff. So there's a real picture there of a need around debt consolidation, a need there around trying to rewrite finances and start saving and changing behaviour and culture around money. So we had to do something about it. We needed both better services for colleagues and better ways to reach them and talk to them about money. We launched Neighbour for colleagues, and what we really wanted from that was the education, the learning, the tools and the budgeting. And that's been really important for colleagues. So that's the hub, that's the centre for people. That's where we want to get colleagues to, because we want that help and support for them. We've got debt consolidation obviously built into there. And that's been great, really successful so far. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We relaunched our EAP. So we changed provider to a company called LifeWorks. So our EAP went from being a telephone number that people would phone, and we still have that service, but there is an app now. So all of our colleagues can download an app. What they get with that is a set of retail discounts, which make it attractive and make it a way for them to save money and a way to get them engaged with that. But in addition, they get a whole range of online information about wellbeing benefits. They get a lot of stuff in there about mindfulness. They get toolkits to help them tackle particular issues and build their resilience and build their capability. So they don't just get a phone number, they get something that's a lot more. And that's been really helpful. We'll come back to the app and some of its other functionality in a moment. We built a whole range of new pension modelling tools, and we built some at-retirement pension support to help people make better decisions at retirement, which we'll talk about later as well. But we also went out with our credit unions and helped to support and promote their savings options. We wanted to say to colleagues, savings are really important. We've got these credit unions, you should really be using them. And we did that, and we underpinned all of that with 2 new things, 2 new communication channels that we opened up for colleagues, because reaching our population is really difficult. The 2 were at opposite ends of the scale. So within the LifeWorks app, there is a message facility built in. So we can use that app to get in contact with every colleague that's got it and tell them about our benefits and tell them about new things. So we have a different electronic channel that we didn't have before. That's been really helpful to us. And we use that not just to tell them things, but to ask them things. So we can just say, look, guys, what do you think? What do you think about money? What support do you need? Do you work 2 jobs? What would help you with that? So we have that facility. And the other thing that we did was paper. So we went back to the very beginning of communication, and we have a paper newsletter that, with Neighbour's help, we produce that quarterly. We get that into the hands of every colleague at the co-op. We send it to their home addresses. And what we can actually see here on this graph is that the paper newsletter's been one of our most effective channels. I know we have an offline population that are difficult to reach, but paper for us has brought in a quarter of the people that have signed up to the Neighbour Hub, a quarter of the people that have gone and sought out that help and support. So that's been really important to Co-op, and I think that's a really important message in that, because paper's unpopular because it can be expensive to distribute and get in front of people, but actually it's doing something really powerful for Co-op at the moment. The experience with Neighbour's actually been really great. We haven't got the take-up numbers on this slide, but we've smashed it out the park in terms of the number of colleagues that we were expecting to see signing up and accessing that help and support in the first year. We hit that target in the first month. So we were way ahead of where we wanted to be. The reasons colleagues are going there are what we expected. Debt consolidation is right at the top of the list. So it's been a really successful programme for us. Colleagues are getting their information from a range of places. Company intranet's really important, even though that's limited. Word of mouth is also really important to our colleagues, even though that's not really showing up on there so much. This graph, I think, is one of the most fascinating ones for us because this is the one that presents our kind of challenges for the future. So this is another age breakdown, and this is the red bars are the colleagues that have signed up to the Neighbour portal. So we talked earlier about those peaks, those age demographics of who works for Co-op, and we talked about how 20% of our employees are in this sort of 18 to 24 age bracket. But what you can see is that group are not signing up to the Neighbour portal. So our comms, the things that we have done to go out there and talk to our colleagues, that age bracket, who we know statistically are most likely to carry high levels of debt compared to their income, we're not reaching them. So we've done really fantastic with our other age groups. We've got to them, but we still have a challenge here with the younger colleagues. So we do use channels like Facebook. So we do use email. We have used paper. We go out there with our colleague intranet. We go out there. We use a little bit of Twitter, but we're still not getting there. So we have to go back and address that. We have to maybe address how those messages are carried, whether we're pitching them at the right level, because we know there's a group there that need that support. They need that help, but we're not quite getting those messages to connect. So there's a really important learning there that there is a group of people that do need something a bit different. And we've got to work harder to try and reach them. So even when you're successful, as we've been, we've not quite got it right just yet. Our kind of story so far, when we go back to the original question that our trades unions asked us around pensions, it's been quite interesting because we spend a fair amount of money building fancy modelling tools to help our colleagues plan their retirement so that they could get their contribution levels right, target the right kind of retirement income, build up the right sort of pension pots, and then we've built an at-retirement offer that allows them to get free financial advice at retirement, make proper and appropriate choices, get the best deals for annuities if they want to buy those, if that's the right thing for them to do. And they go in very small numbers and have a look, and they don't engage, and they don't change their pension choices. And really, we think that the learning from it is that financial well-being is a very long journey. We have a lot of colleagues who are financially stressed. We're putting solutions in place, but it's going to take a lot of years for them to go from a place where they struggle to get from payday to payday without going into debt, without using their credit cards. You can help them with debt consolidation, but they're then going to have to pay those loans. It's going to take time, and they're not going to get equipped straight away to go from I'm struggling with my money to I'm going to increase my pension. I'm going to start paying more into that. So it's going to take a long time to turn around that financial challenge for people. So it's, you've got to have great tools. You've got to invest in those communications, but you can't expect engagement in pensions to turn around immediately. It's a really long-term goal. So you've got to have the building blocks right, and that's what we're trying to do. That's the things that we're trying to do with Neighbour. It's the stuff we're trying to do around short-term saving. It's the stuff we're going to try and do around medium-term savings with ISAs. We're trying to help colleagues to get on the housing ladder to help them make the kind of iterative steps that get you closer to retirement planning. So we think that that's a really important observation because for all the money we've put into it and for all that our trades unions still tell us that it's really important and right at the top of colleagues' agendas, we don't see that in the way that they engage with those tools. And I guess the really key messages are know your colleagues. All of our organisations will be different and people will have different needs. If you don't understand who your people are, you will not put the right stuff in front of them. You've got to get the foundations right. If you're not talking enough about debt and debt consolidation and savings and how you transform those behaviours, you won't be able to help people with longer term stuff. It's no good turning up with IFAs and fancy things if you don't have the basics there, because you're not helping people with the full picture. I think importantly, your benefits can be really brilliant. You can have fantastic stuff there for colleagues, but if you don't communicate them well, they don't do anything for you. You are much better off with a really average benefit offer and a really fantastic set of communications than you are with, a really fantastic benefit offer and rubbish communication. You have to get those the right way round, and communication is the key to getting value for money out of what you're doing. And paper is not dead. It still plays a really important role for us, and it can do for you as well.